November 16th, 2023. Manhattan, New York. A lawsuit lands in federal court at 9:47 in the morning. 35 pages. Cassie Ventura versus Sean Combs. The allegations read like a prosecutor's nightmare. A decade of physical abuse, sexual coercion, sex trafficking. Names, dates, hotel rooms. Specific incidents described in clinical detail. The kind of document that takes months to prepare and years to litigate. Legal analysts start drafting timelines. Discovery will take 6 months minimum. Depositions. Witness lists. Media circus. The entertainment industry holds its breath because Sean Combs is not just a defendant, he is an empire. Bad Boy Records. Ciroc Vodka. A net worth once estimated at over $800 million. This is the kind of case that does not settle quickly. 24 hours later, it's over. November 17th, 2023, 6:13 p.m. Settled. No trial, no depositions, no public testimony, terms undisclosed. Combs' attorney releases a statement within the hour saying that choosing to settle a lawsuit does not imply an admission of guilt. Cassie's lawyer praises her courage. Both sides express relief. The news cycle moves on. Except it doesn't. 6 months later, CNN releases a video. Hotel surveillance footage from March 2016 at the Intercontinental Los Angeles. The timestamp runs in the corner. Cassie tries to leave. Combs follows. He grabs her, throws her to the floor, kicks her twice while she is down. The footage matches her lawsuit allegations with disturbing precision. Allegations that were supposed to disappear into confidentiality clauses and wire transfers. September 2024. Federal indictment. Racketeering conspiracy. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Transportation for prostitution. The Department of Justice alleges Combs led a criminal enterprise through his business ventures. Not just misconduct. Organized crime. May 14th, 2025. Cassie Ventura takes the stand in a lower Manhattan courtroom. She is asked about the settlement. For the first time, she names the number. $20 million. Paid in November 2023. 1 day after filing. The jury listens. The gallery listens. Then the prosecutor asks her if it was worth it. She cries. She says she would give back every dollar if it meant she never had to experience what happened to her. The question is not whether the settlement happened. Court records confirm it. The question is what you are actually purchasing when you write a check for $20 million in 24 hours. What are you trying to make disappear? And more importantly, why did you think it would stay gone? Settlements are supposed to end things, close the loop, restore silence. But silence is not permanent. It is a condition. And conditions change. You do not buy silence, you rent it. 1993. Sean Combs is 24 years old when he launches Bad Boy Records. He has just left Uptown Records, where he learned the machinery of the music industry, how to identify talent, how to package it, how to turn sound into profit. Bad Boy is not just a label, it is a statement of intent. 1 year later, the Notorious B.I.G.'s debut album Ready to Die hits #1 on the Billboard 200. East Coast hip-hop, which had been losing ground to the West, suddenly has a champion again, and Combs is not standing in the background. He is front and center, dancing in videos, shouting ad-libs, branding himself as the architect of the sound. Puff Daddy. P. Diddy. The name changes, but the message stays consistent. This is a man who builds empires. And he does. Sean John clothing line. Reality television. But the real transformation comes in 2007 when he partners with Diageo for Ciroc Vodka. It is not just an endorsement deal. It is a profit-sharing partnership. Over 15 years, that relationship generates nearly $1 billion. At its peak, Combs pulls in $60 million annually from spirits alone. By 2017, Forbes estimates his net worth at $820 million. 60% of that fortune comes from vodka and tequila, not music. He hosts white parties in the Hamptons. Celebrities, politicians, media executives attend. The persona is meticulously crafted. Self-made mogul, hustler with vision, cultural icon. Can't stop, won't stop. The slogan is not just marketing, it is identity. But rewind to December 27th, 1999. Club New York, Manhattan. A shooting. 3 people are injured. Combs is there with his then-girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez, and his protege, a young rapper named Shine. They flee the scene. Police find a gun in the vehicle. Combs is charged. He hires Johnny Cochran. The trial is public, tense, dissected by tabloids. In the end, Combs is acquitted. Shine is convicted. He serves 9 years before being deported to Belize. One of the victims, Natanya Rubin, settles with Combs in 2015 for $1.8 million. Quietly. No headlines, no press conference. The story fades. The pattern starts to form. When problems arise, they do not explode. They evaporate into settlements and non-disclosure agreements. The machinery of wealth is not just about making money. It is about managing risk, containing damage, keeping the brand intact. Because the brand is worth more than any single controversy. The endorsements, the partnerships, the media appearances, they all depend on an image that cannot afford cracks. So the machine runs. Legal teams on retainer, publicists ready with statements, settlements drafted and signed before the public even knows there is a problem. For decades, it works. But in March 2016, a camera was recording. March 2016, Intercontinental Hotel, Los Angeles. Surveillance camera angle, hallway, and elevator bank. Timestamp running in the corner. The kind of footage security reviews after incidents. The kind most people never see. Cassie Ventura tries to leave. She is wrapped in a towel, moving quickly toward the elevators. Sean Combs follows. What happens next lasts less than 90 seconds, but it will eventually be watched millions of times. He grabs her. He throws her to the ground. He kicks her twice while she is down. She stays on the floor. He walks away, returns, drags her by the shirt. Then, he throws an object at her near the elevator. Years later, on a witness stand, Cassie describes what led to that moment. She testified that this happened after she took his phone while he slept, trying to escape during what prosecutors would later call a freak-off. Multi-day events, allegedly orchestrated with drugs to keep participants compliant. She said these encounters involved male escorts, controlled substances like ketamine, and coercion. She testified she experienced them hundreds of times over 10 years. Hotel security guard Stephen Garcia would later take the stand too. He recalled speaking to Cassie after the incident. His exact words, according to his testimony, were, "Off the record, it is bad." He was talking about the surveillance tape. He knew what it showed. Prosecutors allege Combs paid the hotel $50,000 for that footage. Whether he succeeded in obtaining it or not, someone kept a copy. And in May 2024, CNN released it to the world. But the footage is only one piece. In February 2024, producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed his own lawsuit. He claims Combs forced him to procure sex workers, served guest drinks laced with drugs without their knowledge, and that he personally witnessed illegal activity. Jones says he has video and audio recordings. The federal indictment filed months later references recordings seized during raids, suggesting Jones was not bluffing. Then there is Capricorn Clark, a former assistant. She testifies that Combs once held a gun in his lap during a car ride with her and a security guard. No explanation given, just presence. She says he subjected her to lie detector tests, threatened her, and physically pushed her. She describes a workplace where fear was not occasional, it was infrastructure. The psychology becomes clear. Drugs to incapacitate, recordings to leverage, money to erase. And when money does not work, intimidation fills the gap. Each element reinforces the others. The drugs create dependency. The recordings create blackmail potential. The money creates the illusion that consequences can be purchased away. And the fear ensures no one speaks until they have no other choice. This is not impulse. It is pattern. And patterns do not emerge in isolation. And none of it happens without a system. The federal indictment uses a specific term: criminal enterprise. Not misconduct, not abuse of power. Enterprise. The language is deliberate. It means structure, coordination, infrastructure. It means more than one person knew. Prosecutors claim Combs's business entities facilitated sex trafficking, forced labor, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Employees, they allege, were compelled to work extensive hours under threat, booking hotel rooms, arranging travel, and cleaning up after events that lasted days. According to the indictment, staff transported individuals across state lines, procured supplies, and managed logistics. This was not chaos. It was operations. March 25, 2024. Federal agents execute simultaneous raids on Combs's properties in Los Angeles and Miami. They seize firearms. They seize large quantities of lubricant. They seize electronics. The raids are not exploratory. They are targeted. Investigators know what they are looking for because witnesses have already told them where to look. Follow the money backward. Ciroc vodka. De Leon tequila. The Diageo partnership alone earned Combs up to $60 million a year at its peak. These were not side ventures. They were the foundation of his wealth. 60% of an $820 million fortune came from corporate partnerships, not music. And corporate partnerships require one thing above all else: reputation. There is no public evidence Diageo or any other partner knew about alleged criminal activity. But the question is not just about knowledge. It is about curiosity. How closely do corporations monitor the personal conduct of their brand ambassadors? What triggers an internal review? At what point does reputation risk outweigh profit? Then there are the legal teams. Settlements in 1999. Settlements in 2015. Settlement in 2023. Each one cuts off public scrutiny before it can escalate. Each one requires lawyers to draft terms, negotiate figures, and enforce non-disclosure agreements. Settlements are not accidents. They are instruments, and someone has to play them. Media coverage follows a pattern too. For years, there were whispers, blog posts, message boards, industry rumors. But no major investigation gains traction. No mainstream outlet pursues the story aggressively until the federal government forces the issue. The machinery of access works both ways. If you control who gets interviews, who gets exclusives, who gets invited to events, you control the narrative. And narrative is protection. Assistant testimony paints a picture of workplace culture, surveillance, mandatory non-disclosure agreements, and threats disguised as performance reviews. Fear is not an emotion in this environment. It is policy. You do not question. You do not document. You do not speak to outsiders. And if you do, there are consequences that do not require explanation because everyone already understands them. The system is not just enablement. It is architecture. It has blueprints, budget lines, operational protocols. It has people who know their role and execute it without needing to see the whole picture. Compartmentalization protects everyone until it does not. Then, in May 2024, someone leaked the tape. May 17th, 2024. CNN publishes the footage. Not a leak to a tabloid, not a court filing buried in legal documents. A major news organization releases hotel surveillance video from March 2016, and within hours, it's everywhere. The video matches Cassie Ventura's lawsuit allegations exactly. The lawsuit settled 6 months earlier under confidential terms for $20 million. The same lawsuit that was supposed to close the story. The footage shows what she described. The hallway, the assault, the moment-by-moment sequence that Combs' legal team presumably hoped would never see daylight. Public reaction is immediate. The image Combs spent decades constructing, the mogul, the icon, the businessman, collapses in 90 seconds of surveillance footage. There's no spin that works, no statement that softens it. The video is proof, and proof doesn't negotiate. June 10th, 2024. New York City Mayor Eric Adams requests the return of a symbolic key to the city that had been awarded to Combs years earlier. Combs complies. It's a small gesture, ceremonial, but the symbolism matters. The city that made him is publicly distancing itself. July 2024. The federal investigation intensifies. More witnesses come forward. More lawsuits are filed. By the time the trial begins, there will be over 30 civil cases pending. Each one adds detail, corroboration, patterns that investigators cross-reference against financial records and travel logs. September 17th, 2024. The federal indictment is unsealed. 3 charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transportation for prostitution. The government alleges Combs used his businesses, employees, and resources to carry out crimes over more than a decade. This is not a case about personal misconduct kept separate from professional life. The indictment argues they were the same operation. Combs pleads not guilty. He's held without bail in a federal detention center in Brooklyn. His legal team files motions. His public relations team goes silent. There are no more statements about settlements, not implying guilt. The machinery that managed crises for decades is now in defensive mode, and defense looks different than damage control. January 30th, 2025. Prosecutors file an updated indictment. 2 additional female victims. Allegations dating back to 2004. The scope keeps expanding. The timeline keeps stretching backward. Each new filing suggests investigators are finding more, not less, as they dig. April 2025. According to prosecutors, Combs is offered a plea deal. He declines. It's a calculated decision. Plea deals mean admissions. They mean sentencing guidelines. They mean the end of the fight. Declining means he's willing to take this to verdict, willing to let a jury decide, willing to risk everything on 12 strangers in a Manhattan courtroom. May 5th, 2025. The trial begins. Federal Court, Lower Manhattan. 7 weeks of testimony. 34 witnesses. Cassie Ventura. Rodney Jones. Capricorn Clark. Hotel security guards. Former employees. Financial analysts. Digital forensics experts. Each one adds a piece to a story prosecutors have been building since the first raid 15 months earlier. The defense argues that settlements prove nothing, that Cassie sought money, not justice, that allegations are coached, incentivized, exaggerated. They point to the $20 million. They ask why she didn't go to police in 2016. They suggest this is about financial opportunity, not truth. But the jury also hears about the recordings, the travel logs, the financial transactions, the employee testimonies. The pattern: 7 weeks of testimony, 34 witnesses. One question on everyone's mind: how long can you get away with it? May 14th, 2025. Cassie Ventura takes the stand. The courtroom is silent in the way rooms get when everyone knows they are watching something that matters. She is asked about the settlement. For 18 months, the amount has been speculation, rumor, legal gossip. Now, under oath, she names the figure: $20 million. The prosecutor asks if it was worth it. She cries. She says she would give back every dollar if it meant she never had to endure what happened to her. The jury watches. The gallery watches. The defendant watches. But there is a detail that comes out during testimony that reframes the entire settlement. Before Cassie filed her lawsuit in November 2023, her attorney approached Combs' legal team with an offer: $30 million for the rights to a book she had written about her experiences. They could buy the manuscript, control the narrative, bury the story before it became public. Combs' team declined. So she filed 35 pages in federal court. And within 24 hours, they settled for $20 million. $10 million less than the original ask. But now, it is a legal settlement with confidentiality clauses instead of a book deal. The question becomes, was this about justice or leverage? And does the answer change what happened? The prosecution presents evidence methodically: financial transactions, travel records, testimony from employees who describe being told to book rooms, arrange flights, procure supplies for events that lasted days. Digital forensics experts testify about recordings found during the March 2024 raids, videos and audio allegedly showing what prosecutors have been describing in court filings for months. Witnesses describe fear, not the abstract kind, but operational. The kind that changes how you write emails, how you answer phones, how you interpret a look across a room. Former staff testify about non-disclosure agreements signed under pressure, about surveillance that felt constant, about questions that were met with consequences before they were ever answered. The defense pushes back. They argue that settlements are not admissions, that Cassie had financial motives, that employees seeking legal protection or media deals have reasons to exaggerate or fabricate. They point out inconsistencies in testimony, gaps in timelines, moments where memory conflicts with documentation. They argue this is about money and reputation, not crime, that the government is criminalizing relationships and business practices that, while perhaps morally questionable, do not meet the legal threshold for racketeering or trafficking. But the jury hears it all. The surveillance footage that was supposed to stay buried. The testimonies from people who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by coming forward years ago. The financial records that show patterns, hotels booked, flights arranged, payments made. The recordings. If convicted on all charges, Combs faces a potential life sentence. The business empire that once generated $60 million a year from vodka alone is now frozen, uncertain. Partnerships have been severed or suspended. Over 30 civil lawsuits remain pending. More may still be filed. The trial exposes a question that extends beyond guilt or innocence, beyond any single defendant. How many people knew? How many looked away because the cost of speaking was higher than the cost of silence? How many institutions, corporate, legal, media, functioned not as enablers but as infrastructure, building the very systems that made accountability optional for those wealthy and connected enough to afford it? The verdict will determine Sean Combs' legal fate. But it will not answer the deeper question. It will not explain how a pattern this long, this documented, this visible to those close enough to see it, continued for decades. It will not identify everyone who participated, who profited, who knew and chose silence, control, or compulsion.